reporting on the games you love by people who love to game. The MMO Reporter Network. So it is the end of the first day at PAX. We're standing outside, the show floor has closed, and I have been lucky enough to snag a couple of people from Marvel Heroes to talk about their fantastic game. So can you introduce yourself and tell us what you do at Gazillion, and maybe explain the one reason why you are so amazing.
My name is Jeff Donais. I'm the creative director for Marvel Heroes. And the one singular reason why I'm amazing is because I work with so many amazing people at Gazillion.
That really, the answer was you're Canadian. That should have been the answer. I'll accept yours though, so I hope that's okay. So, as a creative director,
I didn't want to be a hoser, eh?
As a creative director, what do you think the funnest aspects of your job are?
The most fun aspects of being a creative director, just involved in gaming at all, is when your work actually stops and the players play your game and they're actually having fun. And that takes a lot of steps to get to, because you have to iterate and take the frustration points out of a game and put in the fun points. It's not as easy as it might sound, but that is the singular most fun part of game design.
So you're new to Gazillion, you're just a few months now with the company. What are some of the things that you've really liked working on in the last couple of months that have really challenged you and made you, I like this decision that I made, I like where I am now because...
I don't just like, but I love the decision that I made to join Gazillion for many reasons. I believe a company starts from the top down, and we have this crazy guy named David Brevik, who is an actual gamer and actually enjoys playing games and thinking about games, and that is a very refreshing change. Gazillion's not really a corporate culture, it's more of a startup gamer culture. So number one, that's that for sure. Number two is the content that we have, Marvel Superheroes. You cannot possibly get better content than that, with maybe the exception of Star Wars. And we saw how that turned out. Although it was great, it was just too expensive. So Marvel Superheroes have so many characters, such a rich history, such amazing art, such amazing storyline. Working with that is an amazing privilege. I've had the luck to do it on a trading card game for many years in the past, and coming back to work on it for a ARPG is amazing.
So there's a lot of stuff that's happened since the launch of the game. I know I reviewed the game at launch. I had a lot of fun with it. My Thor is trucking along in the mid-30s now, and I'm really enjoying the game. But you're working on some changes now and improving the game. What are some of the things that people can expect in the short term of the game?
That's a good question. The most basic thing we're working on is actually the most important part of the game, and that is the feel of the game. Do you feel like a hero? Do you have appropriate challenges? Can you overcome those challenges using your brains and a combination of item hunting and power distribution and just smart play? So that is the most important thing about our upcoming patch, which we're calling Patch 1.2. It changes and improves the fundamental gameplay. So there's a new defense system, there's a new philosophy of approaching mobs in the game and challenges. There's a bunch of new affixes and powers on enemies. There are new ways to approach zones in heroic difficulty and super heroic difficulty. There's new max level challenges in our special terminals, so you can fight Dr. Doom or Magneto or Mr. Sinister or basically every boss on hardest level. So, I forgot to mention, even the very first minute of the game is completely redone. So we have an intro in Queens, like your simple level 1 superhero in Queens. And there's a little invasion in Queens, and then there's a bank heist that you have to stop with Black Cat, who is a very sexy gal, I might mention in the game. So from the level 1 experience all the way up to level 60 experience, just the fun of the game has a pure polish pass, and it feels very, very good.
Now, one of the things and one of the reasons why I'm finding I enjoy the game in sections where I'll play for a while and then go and play a couple of other things and come back, I found that, once I hit those late 20s and the 30s, I started to find that the content was getting a little bit repetitive for me, and I understand lots of people like this style of gameplay. Are you working on anything with all this stuff that you're saying now? What do you think is any of that gonna hit that sort of concern of mine and draw me into the game a little bit more?
Absolutely. Your concern was totally valued and shared actually by a lot of the players. We launched with a lot of the content that we wanted slightly unfinished. So this patch puts in a lot of that. It puts in story modes via Heroic and Super Heroic mode, which is our spiritual successor of Diablo's Nightmare in Hell mode. So that gives you content all the way up through level 60, really challenging content. Plus, we've added, or we're in the process of adding, a new thing that was inspired by the Kobayashi Maru scenario in Star Trek. So in the Marvel Heroes equivalent, you're defending the X-Mansion from a variety of waves of attackers, including supervillain PAX, hordes of Hydra agents, AIM agents, etc. And you cannot possibly win. The challenge is how many waves do you complete? How far do you get? With each wave, you get successively better loot and experience, but the enemies get more and more challenging. So unless you're Kirk, which you may be, unless you're Kirk, you're going to lose, but how far you get and the cool loot that you get as you progress is really the challenge.
Awesome. So with the launch of the game, one of my favorite parts of the game was the motion comics that came with it. Are you looking, as you add more content to the game, to also add some motion comics to add to the story of the game?
Yeah, motion comics were really cool. We had some really good artists working on them. With our new Thor zone, to coincide with the Thor movie release, we're adding a new motion comic that extends the story. So if you played the story, I don't want to give too many spoilers, but if you played the story, you saw how it ended, and you saw the little teaser at the end, and that is obviously continued in the new Asgard zone, as well as the motion comics.
That's a very Marvel thing right now, with the little teasers at the very end. How's that continued relationship with Marvel going as you go to add more content to the game?
The relationship with Marvel is amazing. It's both the most fulfilling thing ever and also super frustrating. They want to keep things absolutely 100% perfect, as do we. So we have back and forth on exactly the size of Emma Frost stilettos on her shoes, which is totally cool. It's totally cool to have a discussion like that. But it's also awesome. They tell us about what's coming up. They tell us what bosses and what new enemies are in the Thor movie, and we get excited and we get geeked out. Then we start furiously building them. So working with Marvel is amazing.
Awesome. And now, as we end things here, what's your favorite hero to play? If you could only choose one hero, and this is hard, I know it's hard for me, it must be even harder for you, which one would you play? And then, what boss is your favorite to fight?
My favorite boss to fight is, I want to say the Doom encounter, since it's so epic, and it will become even more epic in about a month as we add raids. However, I love the Kingpin fight. Kingpin summons both Bullseye and Elektra, with both of them have different game mechanics. Plus, he summons his goons, and I really like adds and fights. So I'm going to give Kingpin #1 as my best boss fight. As for favorite hero, it's really tough. I love Cable. It might be because he's so overpowered. But he's a dude from the future. He doesn't care about any techno-organic virus. He shrugs it off. His guns feel really good. One of his powers is called Concussion Blast, which is kind of a heat-seeking missile. And we buffed it a lot in next week's patch, so it feels really good. So I'm going to give Cable as #1, but I also love Rocket Raccoon, who drops turrets. Yeah. So it's got a little bit of Borderlands-inspired turret dropping, Heimerdinger League of Legends-inspired turret dropping, and even Dark Age of Camelot Animist-style turret dropping, if you will. So I'm going to give Rocket Raccoon a very close second.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. Looking forward to hearing more about patch 1.2, and really appreciate you taking the time to come talk to us.
Pleasure, sir.